This week on Ebert and Roeper, George Clooney and Julia Roberts look into the Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Also a triple meltdown by Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, and Julianne Moore in The Hours.
And Leonardo DiCaprio dares Tom Hanks to Catch Me If You Can.
You're going to get caught. One way or another. It's a mathematical fact. It's like Vegas. The house always wins.
Leonardo DiCaprio was running from his family, himself, and lawman Tom Hanks in Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. It's coming up later in the show, one of 6 new movies this week, and I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. Our first movie is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and it's the best movie ever made about a game show host who's also an assassin for the CIA. I feel pretty confident in saying that. This is a pitch-black dark comedy with a breakthrough performance by Sam Rockwell as Chuck Barris, the creator of schlock game show hits such as The Dating Game and The Newlywed Game. Barris became a cult figure as the host of The Gong Show, but according to his autobiography, he was also a hitman for the CIA.
You're now officially a patriotic citizen of the United States of Jim Bird. There's no backing out now. We've let you in on everything. You don't play, you don't leave. You understand that?
And of course, that's George Clooney as CIA agent Jim Bird. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind is Clooney's first directing effort, and he does a smooth job of blending Barris's wildly different career paths into a darkly funny storyline that almost seems credible.
Have you noticed, Jim, I got a TV show on there. I don't need to kill people for hire anymore.
Think of it as a hobby, something you do to relax. You can be an assassination enthusiast.
Drew Barrymore is wonderful as a free spirit who falls in love with Barris and has no idea about his secret life.
Mexico, just on a little vacation.
Oh, you didn't drink the water, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not supposed to. That's Montessori's revenge.
Montezuma.
Right.
Julia Roberts worked for only 6 days on the film, but actually has a substantial and pivotal role as a double agent or maybe a triple agent. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind was written by star screenwriter Charlie Kaufman of Adaptation, which means it's only the second strangest movie Kaufman has in theaters right now. But this film is plenty strange in a sharp, creative, often hilarious fashion. Rockwell becomes the prolific and self-loathing Barris in a performance that transcends mere impersonation. He's perfect in this role. Now, as a former Gong Show addict, I'll admit it, my only complaint is that we didn't get more recreations of all those famous moments from the show. I like this movie a lot.
You know, somehow Chuck Barris's original autobiography was not on my reading list, and so when I went to see this movie, I assumed that Charlie Kaufman made it up that he was a CIA hitman. And then I find out, no, Barris actually said in the book that he was.
Absolutely, I read that book.
Although the fact is, you can't find out by talking to Barris or Clooney or anyone else who I interviewed last weekend whether he was or not, because Barris won't say. And it really doesn't matter, because the movie is completely surrealistic anyway. And whether he did or did not kill 33 people probably makes a big difference to them. But to the movie, it's just it's like he's kind of like the Gong Show contestant of the CIA.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a brilliant film, and Chuck Barris was sort of the pioneer, and this could be a bad thing, but the guy who invented this stuff that became reality TV that we've all got all over the dial right now. But it's an interesting performance from Rockwell, and I thought Julia Roberts was really good, and both elements of the story work. The CIA stuff works, and the weirdness of these game shows that he created.
It's Clooney's first movie as a director, and he handles it like a seasoned pro. One of the things he does is seamlessly put together actual archival footage from television and newly reconstructed scenes from those shows. And the movie, stylistically, in terms of its effects and the way it looks and the way it feels, is really well put together.
And on top of all that, it's just plain funny.
You got it. Okay. Our next movie is a controversial fictional story about a friendship in the aftermath of World War I between Adolf Hitler and a Jewish art dealer in Munich. John Cusack plays the dealer. Noah Taylor is the homeless Hitler. And the movie watches as Hitler fails as an artist, fails in all his personal relationships, but finally finds a role as the spokesman for the emerging Nazi party. Some people have complained that the movie makes Hitler too human, but of course, Hitler was human and ridiculous.
When I look at this work, I see a really pretty solid technique, but what I'm missing is an authentic voice. One gets the feeling that you're holding something back.
Hitler and Max Rothman, the art dealer, played by Cusack, both served in the German army in World War I and fought in the same battle where Max lost an arm. Max's young mistress, played by Lily Sobieski, doesn't like this deranged character that Max always drags around.
Max, what are you doing with this man? He's the most horrible creature I've ever seen.
He doesn't have any friends.
Hitler's art is pure kitsch, and he is on the borderline of madness when an army officer hooks him up with a new fringe party.
Would you like to learn how to speak in public? We're offering a course to certain people.
What kind of course?
It's a course in a new kind of science. It's called propaganda.
You can't say Max doesn't know who and what Hitler would eventually become because, of course, this movie wouldn't exist if it hadn't been that Hitler became Hitler. Hundreds of books and movies have tried to explain the mind and personality of this diabolical monster, and Max is one more attempt, seeing him consumed by the need to express his xenophobic visions and finally finding politics as the artistic medium where he can excel. But the movie is really more about Max Rothman, a man who has suffered much, who believes in the redemptive power of art, and who feels sorry for this miserable little man who wants to be a painter. I like this movie.
I did too, and you know, the criticism, well, this makes Hitler a human being. Well, he was a human being, and you know, you mentioned, okay, hundreds of movies and books, of course, have been done about Hitler, but in most of the movies, he's already firmly ensconced in power, and he's this evil, mythic figure that's in the background, and people are talking about how much they fear Hitler, they hate Hitler, they want to kill Hitler. Here we see this guy, and we see the hatred already boiling up in him, we see his frustration. He's not a very good artist. It's a fascinating portrayal. It is a little jarring when you hear Cusack's character say things like, "Come on, Hitler, I'll buy you a lemonade." But you know what? That was his name. That's what would happen. He had human moments before he became this monster.
Albert Speer, the great architect of Nazi buildings and rallies and so forth, once said, you can't understand Hitler unless you know that he wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
And it's true here that he is a completely insignificant and rejected little man who desperately thinks, maybe I could get a canvas up on the wall and I get some recognition, and he really can't paint, but he can design uniforms and swastikas and so forth. And he eventually finds a medium that he can express himself in. And so out of nowhere, really, came this man who changed the course of the 20th century.
And you're right, Cusack's just brilliant in this. Okay, coming up later in the show, Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, and Nicole Kidman are three women whose destinies intersect across time in The Hours.
And next, an all-star cast brings to life Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens.
Every good thing has been a trick until you.
You did not want us when we came, and it shamed me to seek help from someone unwilling to give it. Now our only shame is the blood which binds our name to yours.
A fine young man in dire financial straits refuses to surrender his dignity in the new film of Charles Dickens' Nicholas Nickleby. That's Charlie Hunnam from Abandon as Nicholas and Christopher Plummer as his Uncle Ralph, a Scrooge-like banker with an icy heart whose idea of helping Nicholas is to send him to work at a grotesquely cruel school for boys. Last year's supporting actor Oscar winner Jim Broadbent is the hateful schoolmaster Wackford Squeers.
I will listen to every rumor and every rumble until I can strike him. And then I will strike him until he can be struck no more.
Jamie Bell from Billy Elliot plays a kind-hearted cripple named Smike, whom Nicholas frees from Squeers' torturous clutches. They hit the road, finding comic diversion in a theater troupe headed by Nathan Lane.
My dear, it is of the utmost that I speak to you about a great struggle which is taking place outside this mortal temple we call the theater. The contestants of those aged combatants, art and commerce.
And that's Dame Edna Everage as Mrs. Crummels. We also get Tom Courtenay, Juliette Stevenson, Anne Hathaway, and Alan Cumming, some reveling in their characters' immorality, others cheerfully trading quips like 19th century Woody Allen creations. Charles Dickens' novel has been filmed a half-dozen times and was famously adapted into a 9-hour production by the Royal Shakespeare Company. Here, writer-director Douglas McGrath pairs the story to a relatively swift 2 hours and 18 minutes. Although Nicholas Nickleby is laced with ominous scenes and some treacherous characters, its overall tone is light and airy. This is too much of a trifle to be considered a great Dickens film, but it's a pure-hearted adaptation bolstered by at least a dozen wonderful performances.
Well, it's a trifle, but it's also a great Dickens film. I think Nicholas Nickleby was the first great novel that Dickens wrote, and I love the fact that this enormous cast of great actors has been willing to take very small roles in some cases in order to people this story with wonderful performances. I love Nicholas Nickleby. I've read it 2 or 3 times. I've seen a couple of the movies before, and this is really well done.
There are so many different storylines going on. Everybody has their moment, even though they only have a couple of scenes, and that's a real feat.
Yeah, basically the novel is almost all here, and I thought it was an inspiration to cast Mrs. Crummels, who is the wife of this theatrical impresario, to cast her as Dame Edna Everage, who, as most people know, is a transvestite character created by Barry Humphries. And since the Crummelses are totally theatrical anyway, it makes perfect sense.
Well, Nathan Lane is perfect casting, too.
Coming up next, Leonardo DiCaprio tries to outfox Tom Hanks in Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can.
Stop chasing me.
I can't stop. It's my job.
Visit our website at ebertandroeper.tv or at movies.com.
I thought you never came to town. That's because you no longer ask me.
Nicole Kidman plays the author Virginia Woolf in The Hours, a film that combines her life and writing with emotionally similar experiences involving two other women. Each of the three women is quite different and lives in a different time, but each faces despair, and each story involves a suicide or an attempt. In the first story, Virginia Woolf argues with her husband about his insistence that she stay in the country because of the bleak dangers of her mental illness.
This is not you speaking, Virginia. This is an aspect of your illness. It's not you.
It is my voice.
It's not your
It's
voice.
mine and mine alone.
The voice that you hear.
It is not. It is mine. I'm dying in this town.
That's Stephen Delane as Leonard Woolf. In 1951, Julianne Moore plays a housewife who is unhappily married. Her husband, played by John C. Reilly, is a happy and uncomplicated man who fails to notice her depression.
Come to bed, honey.
Coming.
In 2001, Meryl Streep heads an unconventional household. She and her lesbian partner are raising a daughter while at the same time she cares for her former lover who is dying of AIDS. He's a poet, played by Ed Harris.
I'm only staying alive to satisfy you.
These three stories don't fit together in some neat and tidy way, and any attempt to connect the dots would miss the point. They all reflect the day that Virginia Woolf described in her novel, Mrs. Dalloway, in which a woman goes through all the motions of happiness, from breakfast to flower shopping to the preparations for a party, while all the time she can. And screenwriter David Hare, working from the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Michael Cunningham, use a hidden connection between the second and third stories to contrast those who can accept and enjoy their lives with those who have been denied that gift.
Yeah, it's very rich source material and a beautiful job of adapting it. I like the first two, chronologically speaking, the first two stories a lot more than the third. I did have some problems with that. I thought they tried to cram too many characters in there. Claire Danes as the daughter just seems to be tacked on. The Allison Janney character, we don't really get to know her. I think they could have just kept it with, you know, the Meryl Streep character and Ed Harris. Then the gay lover of Ed Harris, the ex-lover shows up. There seems to be too much going on and a little bit too much of an effort to wrap everything up in a tidy bow with, I don't want to give anything away, but with the appearance of another character. So that kind of, you know, turned me off, but not enough to not recommend the film.
Well, you know, I didn't feel that way because it seems to me that the first two movies are about households, and the third one is about a different kind of household.
Well, yes.
And yet the underlying problems are about the same, and it is interesting how somebody does turn up at the end, and somebody else is identified at the end in a way that puts everything before in a slightly different light.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nicole Kidman, you know, there's been so much talk about the fact that she wears this prosthetic device, you know, so you can't even recognize her. But beyond that, it's just a really good performance.
Well, I mean, you make it sound so medical. She had her nose made a little...
She's got a nose deal going on there. But hey,
Virginia Woolf had a long nose.
Yeah, I don't know if she was... I don't know if Virginia Woolf was 5'11" either, so I don't know if that was necessary. But, you know, the performance
Virginia Woolf
was
pretty tall, but you're right. Nicole Kidman is really good in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, our next movie is Catch Me If You Can. This is a breezy romp from Steven Spielberg, based on the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., a smooth-talking teenage con artist who cashed millions of dollars in forged checks and posed as a doctor, a lawyer, even a Pan Am pilot in the 60s. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Abagnale, and Tom Hanks is FBI agent Carl Hanratty, who doggedly pursued his prey for years. Here, Hanratty tracks Frank to a motel room, but he doesn't know what Frank looks like at this point.
Drop it! Relax. You're late, all right? My name's Alan, Barry Allen, United States Secret Service. Your boy just tried to jump out the window. My partner has him in custody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You think the FBI are the only ones on this guy? I mean, come on. Come on, he's dabbling in government checks here. Been following a paper trail on this guy for months now.
Earlier, posing as a Pan Am pilot, Abagnale has little trouble hitching a free ride on a TWA flight, even though he has no idea what he's talking about.
What?
Are you my deadhead to Miami?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm your deadhead.
Jennifer Garner from Alias has a small but memorable role as a high-priced call girl.
$1,000.
Okay.
Even with a puffy running time of 2 hours and 20 minutes, Catch Me If You Can doesn't really delve too much beneath the surface of DiCaprio's brazen imposter or Hanks's dorky FBI agent. And we get too many scenes where educated professionals are too willing to swallow Frank's stories when a simple phone call or just one follow-up question would probably stop the ruse. But Spielberg perfectly recreates the fashions, the mood, and the trends of the 60s, and DiCaprio and Hanks have a lot of fun with their roles. It's as if all these heavyweight talents are taking a working holiday, and we're just glad to ride along with them.
You know, I agree with you that these people should have made a few phone calls and figured out who he was, but of course they didn't. The movie is based on fact, and this guy got away with murder. And what's kind of interesting is to see how people will accept you at face value. He says he's a pilot. He's got the hat. He's a pilot.
Yeah.
When last time you were in the hospital, did you ask the doctor?
Let me see your credentials.
If you could see his diploma? I didn't.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You're right. And people project all their own insecurities and feelings. So at one point, he's quizzing these two doctors with completely inane questions, but they're like, I don't think I answered that right. Because he's in this position of authority, so they just believe that he should have that authority.
That's a fabulous scene. He's called out to the emergency room. There are two doctors already there. He asks one what he thinks, asks the other one, do you concur? In other words, he's put himself in the position of authority and needs to know nothing.
Because he learned about being a doctor from watching soap operas. And Tom Hanks, you know, he can do such star turns, but then he can just disappear into a character like this, kind of just this, you know, mousy guy who just lives for work. So there's a nice dichotomy there. And we got to mention that Christopher Walken as DiCaprio's father, another wonderful performance for him.
He has a real nice moment where he breaks out into a grin after he rescues his son from having imitated a substitute teacher. Coming up next, Philip Seymour Hoffman as a very peculiar mourner in Love, Liza.
Okay.
Philip Seymour Hoffman has been in the movies since 1991 and has appeared in 37 so far, including such noted films as The Talented Mr. Ripley, Magnolia, Red Dragon, and Almost Famous. Hoffman, John C. Reilly, and Brian Cox are the ranking character actors of the decade. But Love, Liza is the first movie Hoffman's had a starring role in. Written by his brother Gordy Hoffman, it's about Wilson, a man who melts down after the suicide of his wife and refuses to read her final letter.
I'm Danny. I was at the gate! And because I don't answer immediately, you're gonna break into my house? I want pictures! You keep hanging up on me! Because you keep calling me and swearing at me like I did something wrong! I want pictures! Now you expect me to do what you want? Yes! Yes? I have nothing! You had everything!
That's Kathy Bates as his mother-in-law, who would desperately like to know what her daughter wrote in that suicide note. In his grief, Wilson begins sniffing gasoline fumes to put himself into a daze, and to explain the gasoline, takes up remote-control planes and boats. Love, Liza is not quite a comedy and not quite a tragedy. His entire life becomes a long, confused alibi that he can never quite keep straight, and he blunders from trouble into more trouble. There's a kind of morbid fascination in watching this poor sap, although the better we know him, the less surprised we are about his wife's suicide.
Yeah, I would agree that it's not quite a comedy and not quite a tragedy, and I don't think it's quite successful either. I mean, it's interesting. Philip Seymour Hoffman, obviously talented, maybe almost too perfect for this role. I've seen him play this character so many times that I kind of knew where it was going, and this whole thing about him sniffing the gasoline, that's an addiction that doesn't necessarily make for good cinema because it just means he passes out or he acts goofy, and about the fourth time we see those sort of embarrassing scenes, I feel like, okay, we get it, and it doesn't go anywhere from there. So kind of a reluctant thumbs down for me, a mild thumbs down.
Yeah, it's a borderline movie for me, but I'm giving it a thumbs up, and the gasoline doesn't bother me because, you know, it leads to those shifting kinds of out-of-focus shots that are sort of effective, but also
not so effective for me.
The mystery here is not the suicide note, not why she killed herself, but he essentially is just blundering now through life with these desperate attempts to say anything at all to his friends, to his mother-in-law, to his boss, to his co-workers. It's just one inappropriate confrontation after another, and there's kind of a morbid fascination
which I think makes for an interesting premise, but not a complete movie. Okay, looking ahead to next week, we'll reveal our top 10 lists on the best films of 2002.
Join Ebert and Roeper's 3rd annual Film Festival at Sea. Preview the hottest new movies and enjoy lively discussions with the critics. Roger and Richard sail to the Bahamas in Disney's Castaway Cay, February 20 through 23rd, aboard the Disney Wonder. Ebert and Roeper's Film Festival at Sea. Call your travel agent or 1-800-945-3806.
Okay, recapping this week's movies. 2 thumbs up for Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It opens next week. 2 thumbs up for Max. 2 thumbs up for Nicholas Nickleby. 2 thumbs up for The Hours. 2 thumbs up for Catch Me If You Can, but we split on Love, Liza. It opens next week.
Remember, you can hear all our recent reviews at ebertandroeper.tv or at movies.com, and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, we'll be back with the best films of 2002. And until then, the balcony is closed.
You know, DiCaprio's really good in Catch Me If You Can because he's smooth and he's cocky, but he's always charming as well.
And he doesn't try too hard. He lets other people finish his sentences for him or fill in the blanks when he doesn't know something. So he's not setting off an alarm.
He makes it seem like it's their idea.
Introducing New America Online 8.0. It's not just a new version, it's a whole new vision. Sign up today. Call 1-800-4ONLINE.
Those great old barbershop shaves are back. Conair's hot lather machine takes a can of your favorite shaving cream and turns it into softening, soothing hot lather. The Conair hot lather machine.
It may be cute, but it eats stuck-on food for lunch. Introducing Gel Packs from Electrosol, dishwashing made for the 21st century.
Antonio Banderas, Lucy Liu, 2 deadly agents go ballistic. Only today on DVD and video.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is brought to you by